tasked with the research on this question, the effects of social media on the development, maintenance, dissolution of college students and their romantic relationships. We split it into 3 areas. Next slide. And what as you can see there, that was the team members. Go back one. Got our team members right there, Laura, Cynthia, Gabriel, Gio, Matthew, all wonderful people. Next slide. Okay, so we looked at how does social media affect the romantic relationships with college students. Like I said, we broke it down in 3 areas. First was development. How did you start? Maintenance. What rules, if any, did you apply to the relationship? And the dissolution. If it broke up, how so and what happened? We develop an individual questionnaire for that too, so we'll get into that later. The methods of research that we approach are listed above and here. So we analyzed 3 studies. We brainstormed, which was last week when we went to the library. We interviewed over 17 students, some on camera, some not. Conducted 7, now, and our questionnaire was original, we actually did that. Conducted 7 on camera, like I said, gathered outstanding statistical data, and we formulated a hypothesis, and that hypothesis will be mentioned and touched on later by one of my fellow team members. And right now we have coming to the stage, Matthew.
First thing we have is, why is our question relevant and how does it relate to relationship development? The biggest thing is social penetration theory. With social media, you can get through these, it's the theory that there's layers of intimacy, from the most basic information about a person to deeper things that you really only know once you've known them for years. But with social media, you can look on a Facebook page and get through the first 2 layers right there. And that can actually create conflict. One of the studies had 188 students, all in romantic relationships, and they frequently communicated online. And because of this, they basically knew each other more than you would just by meeting up in any general location and talking to each other. Next slide. One of the biggest things is that it reduces relationship satisfaction. If you're online, you can see what everyone else is doing in their relationships at any time. If you get flowers for your birthday from your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you see someone else on social media get a trip to Paris, you're not going to feel as great about your relationship after that. And another thing is, if you're communicating mostly through social media, one person can take more out of a message than the other, and they may become more attached to the other person, and it kind of makes a one-sided relationship, which ends up creating more conflict in the end.
Okay, and to add on what Matthew said there, we did some of the studies, what I found, or what we found, I should say, is that some of the college students did actually, in fact, say that. There was one girl who had mentioned that she applied a lot of rules that maybe the boyfriend didn't agree with, but that's just the way she did things, and probably eventually led to a downfall, but we'll get into that later. Also, back on the onion theory, a lot of those students also proclaimed that they found it easier to peel back layers over social media than in personal, day-to-day, every meet people like that face-to-face. So that was one of the things. Next, we have Laura.
Hey everyone. So I'm going to be talking about methods of interviewing. So we created a survey which had like 10 questions, and we discussed development, maintenance, and dissolution. So we had 10 students in Valencia fill out that survey. We also conducted 7 camera interviews, like both male and female, so we could get a side of both. Next slide. So the first stage is development. So this stage, I think, is the most important. This stage is where we are creating something of a personal attraction or interest. We are creating everlasting impressions based on our physical appearance, etiquette, and manners. So the questions we asked during our survey was, have you ever met someone online? How do you approach someone through social media? And in your opinion, which social media site is the best to develop a relationship? So the choices were Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and other. So most people chose Instagram, which was like 50%, and then 30% was Facebook, Snapchat was 10%, and other was 10% as well. Sorry. And then overall, based on our data, we saw that college students rely heavily on social media to start a relationship, and it's actually easier to start a relationship through social media.
All right, and to add to what Cindy said, I was there for the interview, she and I, all of them. And as far as what it seemed to be apparent was they liked using social media to do, and it was surprising to me because I'm 40, and I have to mention that because of the comparison and contrast in age. They liked using it to establish a relationship, but they didn't necessarily want to use it to dissolve the relationship. And we'll touch more on that later, but the answers vary. Even though we had a select amount of answers, Instagram, Facebook, a lot of the answers you'll see in the video later we present to you vary. Some people said they use Facebook for various reasons, they use Instagram for various reasons, and some of the answers were comical, some of them were very serious. So you'll see that later on. Next we have Cynthia.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about the maintenance part of this. A couple of the questions that we asked them were, do you set ground rules for expected behavior, once you're in a relationship and you are using social media? Is it important to update your relationship status, and which social media site do you use to communicate with your partner mostly? And as you can see, the results are right there. It was mostly Snapchat and then Facebook and Instagram and so on. How does social media affect the maintenance of relationships? Now, most of them said that it helped start a relationship, but really once they got in the relationship, they didn't want to rely too much on social media. They tried to get more personal with the person, and if you're trying to keep a relationship personal, you don't want to put, a social media, don't want to rely on social media to do that. So most of them didn't really do that and didn't want to do that.
Well, before we go to the next one, and to caveat on what Cynthia said on that one, an example was one person, and we didn't really pay attention to names here because we wanted to be as anonymous as possible. She had informed us that once she had established a relationship, she didn't want the relationship to have anything to do with social media, meaning the response was, well, after we already met, we good to go, and we texted from you on. She said she made it very clear to her, who her partner was, we text from her, because she felt like she didn't want the relationship to be online due to a hindrance. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys may have known somebody commented on it, dropping wrong, or a suggestive comment on it, something to that nature. So next we will talk about dissolution, which will be handled by Gia.
Hello. There's dissolutions up there. The questions that we used throughout it was social media the cause of your breakup? And did you use media? Social media, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, did you use those to break up as well? How long did it take for you to break up? Sometimes there's some relationships out there that takes about a minimum of 1 to 2 months even before they've actually settled. So even though they say, oh, we're through, but they'll keep talking. It's happened throughout our era of the 2000s. And did you post about it? Sometimes there's some people out there who put out their reason. Oh, this person so much, I just don't like them. And then they just post evilly and distinguish meanings towards that person about that whole breakup. And there were the graph here shows the time to break up. Sometimes it takes, 2 months, up to 6 more times a month, and it goes over and on and on. 2 to 3 months, 50% of the people that we interviewed was 50%. About 1 week, about 40-ish% of the people, and 1 month, 15. 6, and the crazy part is 6 and more months. You would think it takes a lot of time and healing, right? But it was actually less than 3%. So, what's the reason for all this? Well, if you think about it, most students that, Valencia College that we interviewed don't really use social media as much, because most of the time, hard in the book studying, right? Or they felt like it was too much of an appropriate way to handle a discussion romantic. A lot of things are settled talking. A lot of situations that are like that, really deep in feeling, are handled in a very converse way. They don't want to be like, oh, let me just post it on Instagram and be like, hey guys, I just got broken up. And it's not a good way to show. So yeah, it's pretty much what the dealio was with that.
And I think Gio did an excellent job illustrating that. But to go back to the previous slide, and since I was there, so I'm talking so much on this, to touch on it, some of them were two-sided. Another case was where a young lady said that even though she told her significant other it was a week or out, she felt like I was over the week, she didn't want to show the significant other physically that it hurt her for much longer than that. So some of these answers kind of vary, slightly on that, under the table, versus what they put down on paper, I should say. So next, we have a video for you. And this is of the actual on-air interviews. And if anybody wants to see, we actually have the questionnaire that we used. And what we did was we just took some of those questions from there to build statistical data, and we came up with this video. And I hope that you enjoy it. Did I turn the sound on? Oh, wrong, that's the phone. Silly me. And that's still the phone. How do you turn it on? This is Gabriel on my account. Can you hear that?
The volume is on the dashboard there.
Assistant Lauren, yeah. And we are going to do the social media question for our class in personal communications. We have a document. I have Alex here with Javier. We have
Harvey, he's now.
How you doing, Dick? I'm good. Good. All right. So we're going to answer 3 questions right except for right there. And we have questions on social media for development, correct? Not too serious. Not too serious? How long are you at? Barely. Once. Let's run through these questions. Okay. So first one is, and this is the development stage of this starting. In your opinion, which social media website is the best for developing a relationship? A, Facebook, B, Instagram, C, Tinder, D, Snapchat.
I say Instagram because anybody can slide into your DMs.
I say Facebook because they show so much about your life.
And I'm just pointing out here, I just want to do, I'm just pausing for a second. I just want to point out that we varied up. You can see we about almost half female, half males. So the answer is going to vary widely.
Show us Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat are at the moment. Snapchat's at the moment. Facebook, I think, gives you a really overall thing that you like to do your repost stuff and just pictures of everything that you do.
I feel the best would be Tumblr, because I feel like it's more personal that way. Facebook is like too personal, like your family's on there, like Tinder's maybe. I'm sorry. I say Twitter. I'm gonna say Instagram. We all started about like your pictures. If you like all your pictures, you like this picture, then again, one of them got DM each other. For me, on Twitter, you add each other, and then you constantly add each other, and then you still at the end, and then you know. I said Twitter. Yeah. I said Instagram because Will started. He liked them up for shout 12 on night. Who does that? I'm asleep. I'm asleep. So I woke up and I was like, yes, let me slide on the DM.
What about Snapchat? It's like you get two, but you prefer. I mean, Snapchat is a bit more private, so Instagram, like it's just open, like everybody's public.
One more time. I'm sorry about this, and I also had to say this. Although we had selected answers like we mentioned before, a lot of people came up with their own sites. Like this girl right here, she said Tumblr, which surprised me. That was very interesting knowing of Tumblr. But I'll continue. So which social media do you communicate with your partner you have the most?
Most, well, it was always iMessage. Twitter, Facebook after you get to know them, then you have them on Facebook.
I say Snapchat because it's more private for me. I like to have a private conversation, and nobody doesn't get to know my business.
At the moment, I use Snapchat the most because it's what we're doing. At the moment, it's really instant messaging, and it's fun. So.
Voice call, video calls, just no. Facebook, Snap, Instagram, all of them. I gotta make sure he's and all of them talking to me. Why you doing on Instagram? No, it's because point. And I am. Trust me, I am. Yeah, I don't know why I am, but I don't want to be bossy at the same time. Yeah. I want to be in his business.
So, what social media causes?
Yes. And it's always that's always. It's always. And it's also for the job. 8. 21.
So you said it's always a call.
It's always a cost because either it's something something that he did that I don't like, or either that something I did that he doesn't like, or either I just don't trust you, and then
It was not the cause of our breakup. The cause of our breakup was because we both had expectations of each other that we expected because of our profile, and Mark is one of those same people that
Let me pause it again. I went to shoot. That was kind of groupthink with those 4 ladies, right? They kind of all leaned towards no, and then she said totally different. So you're all in a group, so keep that in mind.
expecting each other to be.
And lastly, for the dissolution, meaning breakup portion, because you did that relationship, how long does it take you to get over or break up? A week, B 1 month, 2-3 months, C 6 months.
Like less than a week. A.
you can talk about like your y'all build up that bond or whatever. It's obviously gonna take some time. Yeah, I'm a prior. Yeah, it's gonna take at least 2-3 months if you build that bond with them, depending on the person. But it depends on how long the relationship was. Because if we was to come together for a month, I'm not gonna cry over you because, like, come on, it was just a month. It was like, yeah, that was my life. No, exactly.
That's the point. You said that. How long was the relationship?
2 weeks.
Okay, so that means I got a week, a month, 2-3 months, 6 months.
I say the 6 months, I'm gonna give it.
Nah.
I give it a week. I give it a week because I'm not no, I'm not gonna move on because I get heartbroken, but I get heartbroken in the beginning and then after that I'm like,
I'm gonna say a week like her, but in my inside, it's a whole year. But I'm not gonna show him that.
yes.
Show him I'm strong.
I really didn't care. All right, well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate your help. Thank you. Appreciate all you know. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for participating.
You too.
All right, thank you.
And that's it for us, and we'll see you in class.
Good shot.
And as with any PBS show, if you ever watch it, if you want the transcript of that, contact me after this class, and I will give you the link. No, unless you want. All right. Now, before I move on with it, I want to mention, I want to give everybody in that video, even though they're not here, a lot of kudos because it's not easy to just jump on camera and start talking. They were wonderful volunteers. I know I sent some of the links so they can watch it. They're very interested. So it took a lot of courage to get on camera and do that thing. So I appreciate their help. Moving on, let's summarize this thing. While we already talked about most students use social media sites to establish it. They didn't, once they got into a relationship, they didn't want to mess with social, according to them, too much. Now, how do you guys feel about it? Anybody that kind of feel that way here? Strong on starting, but not so much once you get into it? Show of hands?
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of true from what we looked at. Not many students use Essence to solve a romantic relationship, but if they did, they unanimously preferred not to mention the breakup. And what I mean, to translate that, what we're saying was they were happy to get into one, but we asked the various questions of, was it the cause of your breakup? And if so, did you post about it? They had different feelings, and most of them were a traditional manner, where they stated that they would prefer not to the point where maybe nobody knew they broke up. They would just prefer to keep it quiet in between them and their chosen partner. Next slide. And this is our works cited. I'd like to mention Matthew did an awesome job looking these things over. All my team members did an excellent job in their respective places. And so if you want to go look at some good literature, you should do
These
that.
3 studies totaled to over 600 students analyzed, most of them for over a week on their social media activity. And the data from these articles almost matched ours exactly, and it led us to these conclusions.
And I did 2 papers on this before, and and let's put it this way, a lot of people will say something to your face, but in their heart they mean something different. Have you ever got that feeling? You know, say, oh, I won't do this and that, but then you see online, my new babe, they're taking pictures, things of that nature. So it's kind of conflicting, but we went with data, and like that, it matched up. So next slide. And now we come to one of the most interesting parts. If you have any questions at this time, feel free to ask. Go on once, go on twice, sold to America. We appreciate all your attention, and we appreciate doing this for you. It was our pleasure to entertain you and inform you on this subject.